The galaxy had never seen such chaos before. Out of nowhere, a massive space anomaly appeared, spreading fear and confusion across different alien worlds. It was unlike anything anyone had ever witnessed. The sky over the planets turned strange shades of red and black, and a low, eerie hum echoed through space. Stars that once shined bright seemed to flicker, as if they were slowly dying. Alien species from all corners of the galaxy began to panic. On the planet Sylar, the Kylorians, an advanced alien race known for their intelligence, were in complete disarray. Their city-sized spaceships floated helplessly in orbit, unsure of where to go or what to do. Their scientists tried everything, analyzing data, running simulations, and sending probes into the anomaly. But nothing worked. They could not understand this strange disaster. What if this is the end of everything? One Silurian leader asked, his long blue fingers shaking. The Silurians, like many other species, were experts in technology, but even their best minds were helpless. Meanwhile, on the insect-like planet Krthok, the Krthokians were in a full state of emergency. Their queen buzzed nervously, ordering all ships to retreat deep into their planet's underground caverns. "We must hide," she cried out. Her many eyes darted around, searching for a place to escape. But where could they go? There was no hiding from this. The anomaly was spreading fast, swallowing entire systems in its path. On the aquatic planet Zalreen, the Zalrenians had shut down all communication systems. Their leaders thought isolation was the best way to survive. "If no one knows we're here, maybe we will be spared," their governor said, trying to keep calm. But even beneath the waves of their deep oceans, the strange hum from the anomaly could be heard. It was as if the entire galaxy was drowning in fear. Across the stars, it was the same story. Aliens were terrified. Whole worlds were either going into hiding or sending desperate calls for help. But there was no answer. The fear of the unknown gripped the hearts of every species. Planets once known for their strength and unity were now divided and afraid. Some blamed the anomaly on ancient alien curses, while others thought it was the work of a long-forgotten enemy. But no one knew the truth. Except for one planet. While aliens panicked across the galaxy, Earth stood out. On Earth, the humans were aware of the anomaly, but they did not panic. News spread across the planet just like anywhere else. People in their homes watched reports on their screens, reading headlines about the strange phenomenon. But humans were different. They didn't fall apart in fear. Inside a large space station orbiting Earth, human scientists worked calmly. They gathered data, checked their readings, and observed the anomaly without showing any signs of worry. Among them was Dr. Sarah Ross, a leading expert in space physics. She stood in the control room, looking at the screens. Her team had been tracking the anomaly since it first appeared. Unlike the aliens, she wasn't afraid. In fact, she was more curious. "This is fascinating," she said, pointing at the data streams. "We've never seen anything like this before, but it's not something we can't figure out." Her colleague, Lieutenant Mark Sanchez, stood beside her. He was in charge of the station's security and defense. "Do you think this is dangerous?" he asked. His voice was calm, even though the situation seemed serious. Sarah shook her head. "We don't know yet, but there's no point in panicking. If we keep our heads straight, we can figure this out." This calm attitude was typical of humans. Unlike many of the other species in the galaxy, humans had faced countless challenges before. Wars, disasters, and even threats from space weren't new to them. They had a history of staying strong in the face of danger, and this situation was no different. While the rest of the galaxy fell apart in fear, humans focused on finding solutions. Back on Earth, the human governments and space agencies were in constant communication. They were making plans, preparing for any possibility. But unlike the alien worlds, there were no mass evacuations or cries of despair. Human leaders held firm. They didn't know what the anomaly was yet, but they trusted their people to handle it. As more and more alien distress signals came in, humans remained calm. "We'll be ready," Dr. Sarah Ross said confidently, "no matter what happens." And so, while the galaxy panicked, Earth prepared. Humans didn't let fear control them. They knew that the key to survival was not running or hiding. It was staying strong and facing the challenge head-on. The real test was yet to come, but one thing was certain: humans would not go down easily. Humans stay calm. While the galaxy was falling apart in fear, Earth remained calm. The news about the strange space anomaly had spread everywhere. People knew that something big was happening out there in the galaxy. They saw images of alien planets covered in darkness, alien ships lost in space, and heard stories of whole species panicking. But the humans didn't panic. They had faced worse before. In cities all over Earth, life continued as usual. People went to work, students attended school, and the world seemed unaffected by the disaster happening far away in space. News channels reported about the anomaly, but people watched it with interest, not fear. Another challenge, many thought, but we'll get through it. This attitude was what set humans apart from the rest of the galaxy. At the International Space Agency, ISA, headquarters, scientists were working hard to study the anomaly. They had gathered all the data they could from the space stations and satellites in Earth's orbit. Their main research station, Starpoint 1, was still tracking the anomaly's movements closely. Inside the large control room of ISA, the atmosphere was serious but calm. The giant screens displayed live images of the anomaly and streams of data from various space probes. Dr. Sarah Ross, one of the leading scientists, stood at the center of the room. She was looking at the data on her tablet while listening to the reports from her team. The anomaly was getting closer to more alien systems, causing more panic in the galaxy, but she wasn't worried. "It's spreading faster than we thought," one scientist reported. Dr. Ross nodded. "Yes, but still within our calculations. We faced bigger threats. Remember the asteroid incident? We handled that pretty well. This is just another challenge." Beside her, Lieutenant Mark Sanchez, head of security on Starpoint 1, was watching the data too. He had seen many alien species send desperate messages asking for help, but he knew humans couldn't afford to get emotional right now. "We're getting more distress signals," he said, checking his comms. "The Hylorians, the Kurthokians, and now the Zalrenians are asking for assistance. They're all scared." Dr. Ross didn't look up from her tablet. "Fear makes people do strange things. But fear won't solve this. We'll figure it out, like we always do." Her calm voice was a stark contrast to the chaos happening in the rest of the galaxy. On Earth, the global leaders had also taken a measured approach. A special meeting was held between the United Nations and the Space Command. Military and civilian leaders gathered to discuss the situation. There were no loud arguments or panic in the room, only strategic discussions. General Henderson, head of Space Command, spoke firmly to the Council. "We don't need to overreact," he said. "Our research teams are working on it. We're prepared for anything." The president of Earth's Alliance nodded in agreement. "We have the best scientists in the galaxy, and our military is ready. We're not going to run or hide. We're going to figure out what this anomaly is and how to stop it if we need to." Meanwhile, aboard Starpoint 1, the scientists continued their work. The space station was Earth's best defense and research hub in space. It was equipped with powerful scanners and technology that could analyze any space phenomenon. Every hour, new information about the anomaly was coming in. But even with this strange threat, there was no sense of fear among the humans. Dr. Ross had gathered her team for a briefing. "All right, everyone," she said, standing in front of the room. "We've seen the anomaly spreading. But what do we know so far?" One of the younger scientists, Dr. Emily Zhao, raised her hand. "It's definitely not a natural event. There's some kind of energy source behind it. It's not random." "Exactly," Dr. Ross replied. "It's not random, and that's why we can deal with it. Once we figure out what's powering it, we can develop a strategy to stop it. Let's focus on gathering more data. Lieutenant Sanchez watched the briefing from the back of the room. He admired the way the scientists stayed focused, despite everything happening around them. "You think we're ready for what's coming?" he asked Dr. Ross after the meeting ended. "We don't have a choice," she replied with a smile. "We'll be ready. Humans always find a way." Back on Earth, people continued with their lives, trusting that the scientists and the military were doing their jobs. Some were curious about what was happening in space, while others simply carried on with their day-to-day activities. There was no mass panic, no evacuations, and no chaos. Unlike the aliens, humans had learned from their history. They knew that panic wouldn't help. Calm thinking and action would. As the anomaly crept closer, humans kept their cool. The galaxy might be falling apart, but Earth remained strong. The humans were ready, confident that whatever came next, they would stand fearless. Aliens asked for help. The galaxy was in chaos. Alien races from all corners were desperate and scared. They had tried everything to understand and stop the strange anomaly spreading across space, but nothing worked. Entire star systems were falling into darkness, and the fear was growing by the hour. The Xylorians, one of the most intelligent alien species, had sent countless probes, but none returned. The Crethokians had gone into hiding deep underground, but even there, the strange hum of the anomaly reached them. The Zalrenians had stopped all communication, hoping that staying silent would keep them safe. But safety seemed impossible. In their desperation, the aliens began to look toward Earth. The humans were still calm. No news of panic had come from their planet. Despite the disaster happening across the galaxy, humans remained focused. Their space stations were still active, and their communications were clear. This puzzled many alien leaders. How could the humans stay so calm when the rest of the galaxy was falling apart? On the planet Sylar, the Council of Xylorian leaders had gathered for an emergency meeting. Their towering blue-skinned figures stood around a glowing table that showed a hologram of the galaxy. Every corner of the galaxy was marked with red, signaling danger, except for one area, Earth. The Xylorian leader, High Counselor Zero, stared at the map. "How are they not affected?" he asked, his voice filled with frustration. "Do they know something we don't?" One of the Xylorian scientists, Ayla, stepped forward. "The humans are different. They have always been unpredictable. They do not fear as we do. Perhaps they have a solution." Zero frowned. "But we are the most advanced species in this galaxy. How could they possibly understand something that we cannot?" Ayla hesitated. "Maybe their way of thinking is what we need right now. Fear has paralyzed us, but the humans, they act differently. They stay calm in the face of danger. Perhaps they can help us." The council went silent for a moment. Then Zero spoke. "Send a message to Earth. Request their assistance. It is time we ask for help." Meanwhile, on the planet Krifak, the insect-like queen was pacing nervously in her underground palace. Her wings twitched with anxiety. The Crethokians were warriors by nature, but even they were terrified by the unstoppable anomaly. The queen had received countless reports of Crethokian colonies being consumed by the dark energy. She had hoped that hiding deep underground would protect her people, but it was becoming clear that nowhere was safe. One of her advisors, a tall Crethokian with long antennae, approached her. "Your Majesty, the humans are still active. They seem unaffected by the anomaly. Perhaps we should ask for their guidance." The queen stopped pacing and looked at him with wide, shining eyes. "Humans, they are brave, yes, but can they truly help us?" The advisor bowed his head. "They have faced many dangers before and survived. They do not hide like us. They may have knowledge we lack." The queen clicked her mandibles thoughtfully. "Send a request to the humans. We have no choice but to seek their aid." At the same time, on the aquatic planet Zalreen, the Zalrenian governor was floating in the deep waters of the capital city. He had shut down all outside communication, believing that isolation was the best way to survive. But even in the dark depths of the ocean, the strange hum from the anomaly could be felt. His people were growing restless, and the water currents carried whispers of fear. A group of Zalrenian scientists swam up to the governor. "Governor," one of them said, "the humans are still in contact with the rest of the galaxy. They are not hiding as we are. We believe they may know something we do not." The governor blinked his wide, fish-like eyes. "Humans? They are reckless, always pushing boundaries. Why should we trust them?" "Because they are not afraid," the scientist replied. "They are acting when the rest of us are frozen in fear. If we don't reach out to them, we may not survive." The governor hesitated, then slowly nodded. "Very well. Send them a message. Ask for their help." Soon, across the galaxy, messages began arriving at Earth's space stations. The humans were surprised by the sheer number of requests for help. Every alien race that had once seen humans as lesser beings was now begging for their assistance. The Axylorians, the Carthocians, the Zalorenians, and many others all sent desperate pleas to Earth, hoping that the humans could save them from the spreading disaster. At Starpoint 1, the human space station, Dr. Sarah Ross and Lieutenant Mark Sanchez stood in the control room, reading through the messages. "Looks like everyone's finally asking for help," Sanchez said with a small smile. Dr. Ross nodded. "They're scared. They don't know how to handle this." "And we do?" Sanchez asked. Soon, across the galaxy, messages began arriving at Earth's space stations. The humans were surprised by the sheer number of requests for help. Every alien race that had once seen humans as lesser beings was now begging for their assistance. The Axylorians, the Carthocians, the Zalrenians, and many others all sent desperate pleas to Earth, hoping that the humans could save them from the spreading disaster. At Starpoint 1, the human space station, Dr. Sarah Ross and Lieutenant Mark Sanchez stood in the control room, reading through the messages. "Looks like everyone's finally asking for help," Sanchez said with a small smile. Dr. Ross nodded. "They're scared. They don't know how to handle this." "And we do?" Sanchez asked. "We're working on it," Dr. Ross replied. "But the important thing is, we're not letting fear control us. That's why they're looking to us now." Sanchez chuckled. "I never thought we'd be the ones leading the galaxy." Dr. Ross smiled slightly. "Well, they say humans are good under pressure." As the requests for help continued to pour in, it became clear that the galaxy was now looking to humanity for guidance. The humans had stayed calm, and now they were the galaxy's best hope. The real danger. The galaxy was filled with panic and fear, but Earth remained calm. Aliens from across the stars had sent desperate pleas for help, hoping that humans could save them from the mysterious anomaly. While the humans worked steadily to find a solution, they had no idea that the real danger was much greater than they first believed. On Starpoint 1, the massive human space station, Dr. Sarah Ross and her team of scientists were working day and night. They had collected all the data they could from the anomaly, but there was still much they didn't understand. The anomaly was spreading faster, consuming entire systems, and causing widespread chaos. Yet, despite all the fear, Earth and its people were still holding steady. Dr. Ross stood in front of a large screen, watching the live data coming in from space probes. The anomaly was getting closer, and they needed answers soon. "We need to figure this out," she said, her voice calm but urgent. "We've ruled out natural causes, but something is controlling this." Lieutenant Mark Sanchez, head of security, stood beside her. He was always prepared for the worst. "Do you think this could be an attack?" he asked. Dr. Ross frowned. "That's what we're trying to determine. But if it's an attack, it's unlike anything we've ever seen." As they spoke, a sudden alarm echoed through the control room. One of the scientists, a young man named David, rushed to his station. "Something's happening," he shouted, his eyes wide. "We're detecting a massive energy surge from within the anomaly." Dr. Ross quickly looked at the data. Her heart sank as she realized what was happening. "This isn't just some random event," she said quietly. "This is a weapon." The control room fell silent as everyone stared at the screen. The data showed that the anomaly wasn't just spreading, it was targeting. It was moving with purpose, heading toward populated planets. The strange energy at the center of the anomaly was growing stronger, and it wasn't natural. Someone or something was behind this disaster. Lieutenant Sanchez's jaw tightened. Who could create something like this? And why? Dr. Ross shook her head, her mind racing. "I don't know. But this is no accident. We've been looking at it the wrong way. The anomaly isn't just some random event. It's a deliberate attack, and it's heading right for us." Back on Earth, the global leaders were briefed on the new information. The calm atmosphere that had kept the humans steady was starting to crack. This was no longer just a mystery to solve, it was a direct threat. The leaders of Earth gathered in a secure bunker where General Henderson, the head of Space Command, addressed them. "We've received new data," he began, his voice firm. "The anomaly is not a natural disaster. It's a weapon, and it's being controlled. We don't know who or what is behind it, but they're using this energy to wipe out entire systems, and we're next on their list." The president of the Earth Alliance, a tall woman with a commanding presence, frowned deeply. "How much time do we have?" "Not long," General Henderson replied. "The anomaly is moving fast, and if it continues at this pace, it will reach our solar system within weeks." The room fell into a tense silence. This was the moment they had all feared. An enemy, somewhere out there in the galaxy, had found a way to attack on a scale no one had ever imagined. "We need to prepare," the president said firmly. "Our military, our scientists, everyone needs to be ready." But despite the growing danger, humans still refused to let fear take control. Across Earth, people continued their work, trusting in their leaders and scientists to find a solution. The streets were calm, the cities still alive with activity. The humans had always been known for their ability to face the unknown with strength, and this time was no different. Back on Starpoint 1, Dr. Ross was deep in thought. The more she studied the data, the more she realized how advanced the technology behind the anomaly was. It was far beyond anything humans, or even the most advanced alien races, had ever seen. Whoever was controlling it had a level of power that could destroy entire planets with ease. "We need to find the source," Dr. Ross said, her voice determined. "If we can locate where the energy is coming from, we might be able to stop it." Lieutenant Sanchez nodded. "I'll get the military on standby. But we're going to need more than just our ships. We need to rally the aliens. If this is as big as we think, we can't face it alone." Dr. Ross agreed. "The aliens may have been afraid, but now we know the truth. If they want to survive, they'll have to fight with us." The real danger had been revealed. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about stopping an unstoppable force. The humans had always stood strong in the face of danger, and now, with the galaxy looking to them for leadership, they had to stand even stronger. The anomaly was coming, and with it, a threat unlike any they had ever faced. But the humans were ready. Fearless, as always. Battle preparations begin. The news that the anomaly was a weapon sent shockwaves across Earth and the galaxy. The humans were no longer just passive observers. They were now active participants in a battle for survival. With the threat looming, preparations began in earnest. On Starpoint 1, Dr. Sarah Ross, Lieutenant Mark Sanchez, and their team worked tirelessly to gather every piece of data they could about the anomaly. The atmosphere in the control room was charged with urgency. The glowing screens displayed not only the anomaly's location, but also the trajectories it was taking toward various planets. Time was running out. "Every minute counts," Dr. Ross said, glancing at the data. "We need to gather our resources and prepare for a counterattack. If we're going to stop this thing, we need a solid plan." Lieutenant Sanchez nodded. "I'll contact the military and alert our ships. We'll need every available vessel to defend Earth. But we also need to reach out to our alien allies. They may have information that can help us. As Sanchez made calls to the military command, Dr. Ross continued to analyze the data. Suddenly, a young scientist named David interrupted her thoughts. "Dr. Ross, I think I found something," he exclaimed, pointing to a new reading on his screen. "The energy signatures show patterns. It seems like the anomaly pulses every few hours. If we can figure out when it's weakest, we might have a chance to strike." Dr. Ross's eyes lit up. "That's brilliant. If we can determine those weak points, we can plan our attack more effectively. Let's get this data to the military command right away." Meanwhile, as humans prepared, the alien leaders were also discussing their next steps. The Council of Xylorian leaders gathered once more, their expressions serious. High Counselor Zero addressed the group. "We cannot afford to wait any longer. The humans have proven themselves resourceful. It is time we join forces." Ayla, the scientist who had suggested reaching out to the humans, stood up. "We need to show our strength. The Krithokians and Zalrenians have already expressed interest in joining us. We must unite." On the planet Krithok, the Queen was rallying her warriors. "My people, we have hidden for too long. It is time to fight. The humans have offered to lead us against this unknown threat. We must answer their call. We will fight not only for ourselves, but for our allies." The Krithokians, once fearful and retreating, now felt a surge of determination. They were warriors at heart, and the thought of joining forces with humans ignited their spirits. Across the galaxy, the Zalrenians also responded. Their governor, who had once hesitated to contact the humans, now stood firm. "If we do not act, we will lose everything. We will join the humans in this battle. Our oceans will not drown us in fear. They will lift us to victory." As the aliens made their plans, back on Earth, the military began gathering troops and ships. They set up command centers and started training exercises. Every soldier knew the stakes. This was not just a battle for Earth, it was a battle for the entire galaxy. Dr. Ross and Lieutenant Sanchez were in constant communication with the alien leaders. They worked together, sharing information and strategies. The humans listened as the Tylorians explained their advanced technologies, and the Krithokians shared their combat tactics. Each species brought its strengths to the table, and together, they formed a powerful alliance. The day before the planned attack, the command center was alive with activity. Humans and aliens worked side by side, building trust and camaraderie. They shared meals and stories, bonding over their common goal. Dr. Ross addressed the gathered leaders and troops. "Tomorrow, we face a great challenge, but we do so together. Fear may have brought us here, but now it is our courage and strength that will see us through. We will fight for our worlds and for each other." The room erupted in cheers. The mix of alien and human voices filled the air with determination and hope. As night fell, the stars shone bright in the sky, but the anomaly loomed, a dark reminder of the danger that awaited them. Many soldiers and allies spent the night preparing their ships and weapons, running simulations, and checking their gear. They knew they would soon be facing a powerful force, but they also knew they were not alone. In the depths of Starpoint 1, Lieutenant Sanchez stood by a window, staring out at the vastness of space. Dr. Ross joined him. "Do you think we're ready?" he asked quietly. Dr. Ross took a deep breath. Her eyes focused on the anomaly in the distance. "We may not know what we're up against, but we have the will to fight. That makes us stronger than any weapon." Sanchez nodded. "Together, we stand a chance." As the first light of dawn broke over Earth, a sense of unity filled the air. The battle preparations were complete, and the time had come to face the real danger. With the combined forces of humans and their alien allies, they were ready to confront the anomaly and the unknown enemy behind it. The galaxy had never seen a force like this, and together, they would fight for their survival. The big space battle. The day of the battle had arrived. Space was filled with tension as ships from Earth and their alien allies gathered in formation, ready to face the dark anomaly that threatened their existence. The massive fleet hovered just outside the anomaly's reach, a mix of human spacecraft and various alien vessels, all brimming with courage and determination. Dr. Sarah Ross stood on the bridge of the flagship, the U.S. Valor, watching the screens filled with data. She could feel the energy in the air, a mix of excitement and fear. Next to her, Lieutenant Mark Sanchez was busy checking the ship's systems. "All ships are ready," he reported. "We've gone over the plan 100 times. Everyone knows what to do." "Good," Dr. Ross replied, her voice steady. "We need to stay calm. This will not be easy, but we've trained for this moment." As the countdown began, the commanders of the alien ships communicated with the U.S. Valor. High Counselor Zero from the Silurians, Queen Alfar of the Krithokians, and Governor Nail of the Zalrenians all shared their final words of encouragement. "We fight together, as one," Zorro declared. "For our worlds," shouted Queen Alfar, her fierce eyes shining with determination. "Let the waves of our oceans shield us," added Governor Nail. With a loud beep, the countdown reached 0. "Let's move out," Sanchez shouted. The fleet surged forward, entering the dark space surrounding the anomaly. Dr. Ross felt her heart race as they approached the swirling energy. The anomaly loomed ahead, a massive whirlpool of darkness pulsating with raw energy. As they got closer, they could see the chaotic patterns shifting within it. Suddenly, the darkness split apart, and a series of smaller ships shot out, alien crafts that looked like twisted metal and jagged edges. These were the enemies controlling the anomaly, and they were ready to fight. "Enemy ships incoming," one of the crew shouted. "Prepare for battle." "Defensive maneuvers," Sanchez ordered. The U.S. Valor and the other ships began to turn, positioning themselves to defend against the onslaught. Laser blasts lit up the darkness as the alien ships attacked, firing energy weapons at the incoming fleet. The space battle erupted into chaos. Humans and aliens fought side by side, their ships weaving in and out of the enemy fire. Dr. Ross watched as one of the Silurian ships launched missiles, striking the enemy craft with precision. "They're doing great," she said, excitement bubbling in her chest. "Stay focused," Sanchez reminded her. "We can't lose our edge now." He monitored the ship's systems, ensuring their shields held strong against the enemy fire. Meanwhile, the Krithokians engaged in close combat. Their ships were built for war, and they charged toward the enemy, their weapons firing with deadly accuracy. "For our honor," Queen Alfar cried, her voice ringing through the comms. The Krithokians fought with a fierce determination that pushed them forward, taking out several enemy ships. On the other side, the Zalrenians were using their aquatic knowledge to navigate the battle. Their ships moved smoothly through space, like fish in water. "We'll flank them from the right," Governor Nail called, coordinating their movement with precision. The Zalrenians launched their own attack, surprising the enemy with a swift strike. But the enemy ships were relentless. They regrouped quickly and counterattacked. One of the human ships was hit hard, spiraling out of control. "Mayday, we're going down," the crew shouted before the communication cut off. Dr. Ross felt a pang of fear. "We can't let them win," she shouted. "We need to focus on the anomaly. If we can weaken it, we can turn the tide of the battle." Sanchez nodded, rallying the crew. "All ships, listen up. Target the energy core of the anomaly. We need to disrupt its power." With a renewed sense of purpose, the fleet shifted their focus, ships aligned, and lasers began to fire at the heart of the anomaly. The dark energy responded violently, sending shockwaves through space. "It's working," one of the Silurian pilots shouted. "Keep firing." As they attacked the core, the enemy ships began to panic. They had not expected the combined force of humans and their allies to strike back so fiercely. The swirling energy of the anomaly fluctuated, causing the enemy to lose control. Dr. Ross felt a rush of hope. We're doing it. Keep it up, everyone. We can't give up now." But just as victory seemed within reach, the anomaly unleashed a massive blast of energy, catching several ships in its wake. The screen showed ships disintegrating under the force of the blast. The humans and their allies fought against the shockwave, struggling to stay in formation. Sanchez gritted his teeth. "We can't let fear take over. We're stronger together. Keep pushing." The fleet rallied, regrouping under Sanchez's command. They worked as one, their ships moving in harmony, firing at the core of the anomaly with everything they had. The Xylorian missiles, the Carthokian weaponry, and the Zalrenian agility combined into a single powerful force. With a final surge of energy, the core of the anomaly began to destabilize. "It's collapsing." Dr. Ross shouted, her heart pounding. "We can do this." The enemy ships, now outnumbered and disoriented, began to retreat, their once formidable formation crumbling under the pressure of the united front of humans and aliens. "Victory is within our grasp," High Counselor Zorro declared, his voice echoing through the comms. As the anomaly began to implode, a blinding light-filled space, illuminating the darkness, the combined fleet stood together, watching as the anomaly collapsed in on itself, its dark energy vanishing into nothingness. Cheers erupted across the comms as the last of the enemy ships flooded into the depths of space. The battle was won, but the fight for survival continued. The Alliance had shown that when they stood together, they were an unstoppable force. With the anomaly defeated, hope filled the hearts of the humans and their allies as they prepared for whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, they had faced the darkness and emerged victorious. Victory and respect. The battle was over. The once menacing anomaly had collapsed in a brilliant explosion of light and energy, scattering the dark clouds that had loomed over the galaxy. As the dust settled, a profound silence enveloped the battlefield, a stark contrast to the chaos that had just unfolded. One by one, ships began to regroup, confirming that all Allied forces were safe. Cheers erupted on the bridge of the U.S. Valor, where Dr. Sarah Ross and Lieutenant Mark Sanchez stood side by side. "We did it," Sanchez shouted, his voice filled with excitement. "We actually did it." Dr. Ross felt a wave of relief wash over her. "Yes, we did. But it wasn't just us. It was everyone, humans and aliens together. We fought as one." As the ships began to gather in formation, communications were established with the various alien leaders. High Counselor Zero of the Tylorians appeared on the screen, his face showing signs of exhaustion, but also pride. "We have achieved the impossible," he said, his voice steady. "Today, we stood together against a great threat, and we emerged victorious." Queen Alfar of the Carthokians, her wings shimmering in the light, spoke next. "We have proven that our strength lies in our unity. Fear could not hold us back, and now we can look to the future with hope." Governor Nail of the Zalrenians added, "We must not forget this moment. We fought together, and together we can achieve great things. This victory is just the beginning." Across the fleet, the mood was electric. Crews exchanged congratulations, and the camaraderie felt stronger than ever. Humans and aliens shared stories of bravery and courage, recounting the moments that had defined the battle. The Alliance had turned from mere cooperation into a bond forged in fire. On the U.S. Valor, Dr. Ross gathered the crew for a moment of reflection. "What we have accomplished here today is monumental," she began, looking at her team. "We faced an overwhelming enemy, and we did it together. Every one of you played a vital role in this victory." The crew applauded, their faces beaming with pride. Dr. Ross smiled, feeling the weight of leadership, but also the joy of achievement. Meanwhile, the leaders of the Allied forces arranged a meeting to discuss the future. On the bridge of the U.S. Valor, they gathered, their eyes still filled with the excitement of victory. "We have established a strong alliance today," Zero began, "but we must continue to communicate and support each other. The threat we faced was great, but it may not be the last." Queen Alfar nodded in agreement, We need to create a council to ensure our worlds remain connected. Together, we can monitor any future threats and share our knowledge. Governor Nail chimed in. Yes, if we work together, we can create a safer galaxy. Let this victory be the foundation of a new era of cooperation among our species. As they spoke, Dr. Ross felt a sense of hope rising within her. The galaxy had come together to defeat a common enemy, and now it was time to build something even greater. I believe a council is a wonderful idea, she said, taking the step forward. Humans can provide technological support, while the alien races can share their unique knowledge and resources. The leaders agreed, and plans began to take shape. They would form an intergalactic council, a place where species could come together to share information and collaborate on issues affecting them all. It was a bold step toward a united galaxy, and everyone could feel the significance of the moment. As the meeting concluded, Dr. Ross turned to her allies. I want to thank each of you for your bravery and trust. We have proven that our differences can become our greatest strength. Together, we can face whatever challenges lie ahead. The alien leaders nodded, their respect for the humans growing. They had come to see them not just as a lesser species, but as equals, capable of great things when united. The celebration began. The fleet returned to Earth, where people gathered to welcome their heroes. Cities lit up with fireworks, and the atmosphere was filled with joy. Humans and aliens mingled, sharing food and stories, celebrating their hard-won victory. In the midst of the festivities, Dr. Ross and Sanchez stood together, taking in the sights and sounds. It's amazing, Sanchez said, smiling at the diverse crowd. Who would have thought we'd come this far? Dr. Ross nodded, her heart swelling with pride. This is just the beginning. We've opened the door to new possibilities, and together we can create a better future for all of us. As night fell, the stars sparkled above, and the celebration continued into the evening. The alliance had forged bonds that would last a lifetime, and hope filled the air. They had faced darkness and emerged victorious, proving that when united, they could overcome any challenge. Dr. Ross looked up at the stars, a sense of peace washing over her. The galaxy was vast and filled with unknowns, but now they had allies. Together, they were ready for whatever came next, a beacon of hope shining brightly in the cosmos.